Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 1 of my first Laravel Advent Calendar series. This will be a special series where throughout December we will be exploring different features and best practices in Laravel. Think of it as your personal coding Advent Calendar. Every day you will get to own new tips and tricks and insights to help you level up your Laravel development skills. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced developer, there's something here for everyone, so you can look forward to a new video every day throughout December until the 24th. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into requests in Laravel 11. Requests are the heart of any web application, handling incoming data, validating user input, and ensuring security. Laravel makes working with requests incredibly simple and intuitive, so we're going to break down how to make it work efficiently and show you how to leverage it to build better, cleaner applications. We will cover how to handle and access request data, validating incoming input easily with Laravel's built-in features, using requests to authorize data. By the end of this episode, you understand how to manage requests in Laravel 11 with ease and using best practices, setting the foundation for building scalable and secure web applications. So grab a hot chocolate or perhaps an eggnog, sit back, and let's get started on this exciting journey through Laravel. So in this example, we have a request here where we are validating a file and then a title. In this case, the title here we're validating, and we're also validating and storing a file. So we have this where we return a JSON response where we say file uploaded successfully. Now, in here we can imagine that we have a book model where we are then storing the book and associating a file and a title with that we can then search. So what we can go ahead and do here is we could go ahead and just say PHP artisan make request, and we can call this store book request. Then what I want to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and create a store book request. We go ahead and import this request, and this is located in app http request and then store book request. And then in here you can see that we have, in this case, ability to pass through the rules, which is the validation rules, and we can determine if you need to authorize this request or not. So I want to go ahead and copy these. So now this is all located within the store book request, and all we have to do is just put request, and then you can see we can go ahead and say validated, and then it goes ahead and validate request. Now in here we could, for example, create a policy. So if we go ahead and say PHP artisan make policy, in this case we can call this book policy. And for now we don't have a model, and that's fine. We don't necessarily need to do it here, but in this case we can then go ahead and have a public function create, and then we could go ahead and say we have a boolean here. For now we return true, but in here you could, for example, say return, in this case, if the user, which we will pass through in here. And then we'll have a book model in here, which you can just go ahead and create. And then we say if, in this case, user ID is the same as book use ID. So in this case, we can then say that only upon these two matching each other, we will be able to store a book. So what we can go ahead and do in here is we can say auth user can create, and we can pass through the book. So for example, in this case we have another request here where we have store discussion, and we can just import the class. So if we go ahead and look at store discussion again, we have this create function, and in here inside the policy we can then basically validate this. And that's it. This will then return true or false depending on if the create here, the IDs match each other. If they don't, you are unable to do anything. However, this prevents us from having to go ahead and say if, in this case, request user ID matches the book ID, and then say continue here. But if it didn't, we can go ahead and say it like this and return false, because in this case we know that the book ID does not match. But we don't want to have all of this in our controller. We don't want to have all the rules and all of that in the controller. We want to have a simplified version here. So this is the most basic way to use requests, but this is the best practice in my opinion. This allows you to keep your application cleaner and tidier, and it is the best approach to essentially manage the application quicker, because at the end of the day, controllers can get quite large and messy sometimes. So it's good to keep some of the things out of it, and as much out of it as possible, either in services or in just the store book request, for example, with the validation rules. But that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this advent calendar tip, and I'll see you in the next one.